I never expected one of the creepiest experiences of my life to happen at a storage facility. A few years ago, I was moving between apartments and needed somewhere to keep my belongings for a couple of months. Nothing valuable, just furniture, books, old electronics, and boxes full of random junk. So I rented a storage unit on the edge of town. The place was open 24 hours a day. Most people visited during the daytime, but because of my work schedule, I usually went there late at night. At first, everything was normal. The facility was large. Rows and rows of metal storage units stretched across the property. Bright security lights illuminated most areas. There were cameras everywhere. Honestly, it felt pretty safe. For the first few weeks, I never saw another person. Then one night, around 11 o'clock, I noticed something strange. The unit directly beside mine was open. Not fully open, just a few inches. At first, I didn't think much of it. Someone probably forgot to close it. I grabbed a box from my unit and left. The next night, the neighboring unit was open again. The exact same amount, just a few inches, enough to reveal darkness inside. Still, I ignored it. But then it happened a third time and a fourth. Every time I visited, always slightly open, never fully, never closed. I eventually became curious. One night, I walked over and looked inside. I expected to see furniture or moving boxes. Instead, I saw almost nothing. The unit looked nearly empty. There was only a single wooden chair sitting in the center. Nothing else, just a chair, facing the back wall. I remember staring for several seconds. It felt weird, unnecessarily weird, but I convinced myself somebody was renovating a house or storing things elsewhere. I locked my unit and left. The following week, I arrived around midnight. The neighboring unit was open again, except this time, something had changed. The chair wasn't facing the wall anymore. It was facing outward, toward the entrance, toward me. I stopped walking. I don't know why. A chair changing direction shouldn't be frightening, yet something about it made my stomach tighten. I quickly moved my belongings and left. The next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Eventually, I asked the facility manager. He checked the records. Apparently, the unit had been rented for years. The same renter, always paid on time. No issues, no complaints. That answer, somehow, made me feel worse. A few nights later, I returned. As soon as I entered the storage area, I noticed the neighboring unit was completely closed for the first time. I actually felt relieved. Maybe whoever rented it had finally moved out. I unloaded some boxes and prepared to leave. Then I heard something, a metallic sound, a small scrape coming from inside the closed unit. I froze. The noise happened again, like something dragging slowly across concrete. I stared at the door. The facility was otherwise completely silent. Another scrape, then silence. I walked backward toward my car. I told myself it was probably a rat, or maybe something settling inside. But I knew better. The sound had rhythm, purpose, like movement. For the next week, I avoided visiting. When I finally returned, I noticed something that genuinely frightened me. A small piece of paper had been taped to my storage unit. There was no name, no message, just a date. My first thought was that it had been left by management. Then I realized something. The date written on the paper was the exact day I had first looked inside the neighboring unit. I pulled it off immediately. Maybe it was a coincidence, maybe, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I went to the office and asked if employees ever left notes like that. They said no, not like that. I showed them the paper. Nobody recognized it. At this point, I seriously considered moving my things elsewhere. Unfortunately, my lease was almost over anyway. I decided to wait another month. That turned out to be a mistake. One night around 1 a.m., I arrived to pick up some furniture. As I approached my unit, I immediately noticed something wrong. The neighboring unit was open much wider than usual, maybe halfway. The inside was still dark. The chair was visible. But now, there was something sitting on it. At first, I thought it was a mannequin. Then I realized it was a person, a man, sitting perfectly still, facing directly toward my unit. I couldn't see his face, only a dark silhouette. My heart started pounding. The man wasn't moving, not even slightly. I slowly backed away. Then the figure stood up. Instantly, no hesitation, no stretching, no adjustment, just suddenly standing. I turned and ran. I jumped into my car and drove straight to the office building. The night manager called the police. Officers searched the facility. They searched the neighboring unit and found it completely empty. No chair, no person, nothing. According to the officers, the unit hadn't contained anything at all, not even dust marks suggesting furniture had been there. I insisted they were wrong. I described the chair, the man, everything, but there was no evidence. The following morning, I emptied my storage unit and left. I never returned. About 6 months later, I received a phone call from the facility manager. He remembered me. Apparently, the neighboring unit had finally been abandoned. Its renter had stopped paying. The facility drilled the lock and opened it. Inside, they found nothing, except for one thing, a cardboard box. The box contained hundreds of photographs. Every photograph showed people visiting the storage facility. Different dates, different years, different renters, different employees. Some photos were taken from far away. Others were disturbingly close. Several had clearly been taken without the subjects noticing. The manager contacted police. The renter was never identified. No forwarding address, no usable records, nothing. I asked him one question. Did they find any pictures of me? There was a long silence. Then he said something I'll never forget. Yeah, quite a few actually. The last photograph had been taken only 3 nights before I moved out. I was standing in front of my storage unit, looking directly toward the neighboring one, completely unaware that whoever took the picture was standing only a few feet away.